So, are you recording?
I'm not recording yet, but we are live. So yes, we are being recorded, just not locally.
So my wife, Sharon's like, "Oh, tonight's the tequila episode, isn't it? You're sleeping in the other bedroom."
That's not a surprise, John. I get that. I get that.
From the funnest Tuesday in a while.
Well, way more fun than last Tuesday when we were drinking Moscato.
Yeah.
Oh. You know what? I took that bottle to work for Kelly.
Right.
And I said, "Hey, look, it's in the refrigerator. Just take it home when you want." And that was a week ago. And I know I went to the refrigerator at work and I looked underneath, and she likes Moscato, but it only had, I know how much I drank out of it, which wasn't very much. You saw what I drank, and there's only a little bit more taken out of it. I'm like, close up and pour a glass of wine. This is, even someone who likes Moscato didn't like that.
Wow. Hey, Jeff McKinney, and hey, everybody in the watching live. Everybody's coming out to watch us drink tequila tonight. This is fantastic. Cody's already in the shots. Jim is drinking a margarita. Nicely done. Brad's ready for us to go to. And it is tequileno, right?
Tequileno.
Tequileno.
Like the N with the little enye. So it's like.
And here's the thing. You just told me I'll forget it in 10 seconds because I'm like 10-second Tom when it comes to pronunciation.
No, here's the problem. I don't know what it is about Jeff Eccles living in Colorado. You listen to him try to pronounce jalapeno and he gets that wrong. So it's just
jalapeno.
Jalapenos for everybody.
We actually have T-shirts that have El Tequileno for pretty much for everybody in America so they can pronounce it. But it's the name is, if you're from the town of Tequila, you're called a Tequileno. As if you're from Los Angeles, you're called a Los Angelino. So it's El Tequileno was named in honor of the people from the town of Tequila.
Tequileno. All right, we'll see how that happens. Now everybody's talking about snorting salt and they're drinking. Yeah, this is going to be a fun show. All right. Oh, Ryan is joining us. He is drinking Jose Cuervo Tradicional. Tequila is the right name for that. All right. So let's see, guys. Am I missing anything else before we get the party off?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I was like writing stuff. I didn't say hi, Jeff McKinney. I know that Eccles already said that. And the rest of y'all can just leave. Yeah.
Did you get your headphones worked out, Solomon?
Yeah. I'm good. Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. I am recording. We are.
I appreciate the kind thoughts.
Yeah. And okay. And your last name again is Oghene?
Correct. Yeah.
Oghene. Okay. All right. Here we go. Maybe. Where's it at? Here it is.
At the sound of the tone, the official "We Like Drinking" time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 313 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing all the booze news that's fit to print. We're taking your questions and we're getting deep into some tequila with Steffin Oghene from El Tequileno. So crack open that beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking! Oh, Everybody in the chat is going insane. Facebook was blowing up today because we are drinking tequila tonight on the show. 313 episodes it took us to welcome the tequila, and we are excited to get into this. So let me say cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 313 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun. We like to have it, and we're going to like to drink it tonight. That's for sure. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikeDrinking.com/subscribe. All right. We have a full docket. So we need to get right to it and find out who we're drinking with tonight. We are joined by our usual panel members. We have our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
We have our commercial brewer and snake wrangler, John Riak.
Present and unaccountable, but accounted for.
Okay. And I'm your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. Now, our guest this week is the Vice President of Global Marketing and Business Development for El Tequileno, Mexico's best-kept secret. Started in 1959, this tequila brand has only recently become available to other markets outside of Mexico, including the world's first and only Reposado Rare. He is Steffin Oghene. Welcome to the show, Steffin.
How are you doing, guys?
Woo!
Welcome to the show. We are so excited about this. I can't even keep up with the chat. Everybody is about to blow up because they're so excited for this. Now, where exactly, Steffin, are you tonight?
So I'm kind of laughing actually because of course we start this, and I'm in the town of Tequila in Jalisco, where the name Tequila came from, and a train just decides to come past, a big freight train. So I had to mute myself there for a minute. I found a nice quiet corner. So I'm in Casa Sayes, which is a 25-bedroom boutique hotel that we built in our distillery, and so here I am. I'm in Tequila, where it all started.
That's fantastic. So we are going to get into this. We're not going to talk exactly about what we're drinking yet. First, I want to say, and I know I'm probably mispronouncing it. Everybody's laughing at me. But you can find El Tequileno, right?
Tequileno.
Yeah, out of there.
Tequileno. On Instagram at L_Tequileno, and on the website at tequileno.com, right?
Correct.
I'm done. I need to start drinking.
You can drink more and it'll.
I'm sure it'll get all kinds of better if I start drinking more. So Steffin, before we get into what we are drinking, can you give us a little bit of history, because it's got a very rich and deep history. So can you give us a little bit of history about your tequila?
Sure. So El Tequileno is obviously, it's a new brand to the US and Canada, and now the UK as well. But it's a brand that's been around for 60 years in Mexico, and specifically in the region of Jalisco. It was started by Don Jorge Sayas Cuervo, who was a descendant of the famous Cuervo family, and he started this brand in 1959 in honor of the people of tequila, and now this brand is one of the top selling brands in the region of Jalisco, and that's why we call it Mexico's best kept secret, because it's known for its quality and craft, and it's 3 generations now been making this tequila, and now we've got Tony Sayas, who's the grandson of Don Jorge, and he looks after all the production of our tequilas, and very humble and just lovely character that really focuses on quality over quantity, and that's something that I think is important for everybody to understand, that you probably drank a lot of tequila in your life, and in the US there's around 2,200 brands of tequila registered in the US. There's only 130 distilleries, so you do the math there. You know that some distilleries are making a ton of brands. And of those 130 distilleries, there's only 8 that only make one brand, and that's it. And El Tequileno is one of those brands. We only make our own tequila for ourselves at our own distillery. We don't make contract brands, and we've got no plan to. That's
fantastic, and it's so refreshing to hear. Because Americans were started off on the plastic, plastic bottles are
Yes.
off, and I think that's where a lot of the negative connotations of tequila come, because you have one too many shot lime and salt, and you can have a pretty bad outlook on it. But I love that we're starting to see this big swell of craft tequila being welcomed into the U.S. and around the world, and people are really starting to appreciate what can be in the glass with tequila. Yeah.
Well, 100%. If I think back to, 12, 13 years ago, really, tequila was still in that stage of, it was like the college spring break, let's get wasted, like party, squeeze a lime in your eye, do the shot, and etc. But really, if you really look into tequila, it has a denomination of origin, can only be made in 5 states in Mexico. Jalisco makes around 98% of all tequila, and it's a really highly regulated spirit. And the whole process itself, I could speak to you guys for 3 hours on the actual production process itself, from the agave plant the blue agave that goes into making tequila. It's a really complex process, and every element impacts the flavor. And I think now consumers are becoming more and more educated. The US more so than most, because of the Mexican connection and people vacationing in Mexico, etc. They're starting to understand it's a really complex and can be a very quality spirit, and that's really helped the category grow greatly over the past 5 years, especially. And this year, the pandemic was fantastic. I think, I think in August the tequila category was like 40% up in sales. So I don't know what that says about staying at home all the time. but yeah.
So we have 5 little bottles here. We're not going to taste all 5 because that would take the rest of the show. Just like talking about the production. If you don't know how tequila is made, though, it is something you need to go seek out, because it's amazing. And I think anybody reading through how tequila is made, their first question is, how did somebody figure this out? Like, how did they do this process to figure this out? But so what do we have in front of us from tonight? Let's start from the least oaked to the most oaked.
Okay, so we'll start with El Tequileño Blanco. And we want to start with this one because this is a really iconic tequila in our portfolio, and for our brand for the past 60 years. And it's kind of in the world of craft is growing, and consumers' education of craft products. This is kind of the opposite in terms of the perception, consumer perception, because in tequila you have 100% agave tequila, which it says what it is. It's 100% agave in the sugars that go into making the tequila. Or what you have is regular tequila, which is the derogatory term if you work in the tequila business is mixto. And now mixto is kind of perceived as a cheap, low quality one that you shoot and you get hangovers from. And by law, it's got to be 51% agave, 49% other sugars, which in most terms most cases is the kind of the cheapest sugars possible for high fructose corn syrup or whatever. So El Tequileño Blanco is gained a reputation in the region of Jalisco of being one of the top quality tequilas in the all categories, 100% and regular tequila. And this is because this brand is a 71% agave and 29% piloncillo. And piloncillo is like a little sugar cone, handmade, unrefined byproduct of sugarcane. And it's only made in 2 states in Mexico, San Luis Potosí and Veracruz. So we have to source it from there. So the higher quality sugar and higher percentage of agave really makes this a really rich, naturally sweet, agave-forward tequila. And we've put this in a lot of blind tastings, and it's come out on top against some of the top 100% agave tequilas in the world. And it's really got a famous name as well, because in the town of Tequila, there's a bar called La Capilla. and that was rated in the world's top 50 bars from 2011 to 2015. And every bartender in the world that's been to the town of Tequila or tequila enthusiast has usually gone past La Capilla, and they're famous for a drink called La Batanga. And La Batanga is tequila, Mexican cola, a squeeze of fresh lime, a nice rim of coarse sea salt, and he always, the founder of the bar, Don Javier, stirred it with a knife. And he always said the knife gave it the flavor. So this is a really iconic drink in an iconic town. It's just become like an institution. If you come to the town of Tequila, you got to go by there and have a batanga. And the house Tequila in La Capilla for the past 60 years is El Tequileño Blanco. So I'm Scottish for everybody that's watching, and I ran a tequila bar in London in 2008 to 2010. And I used to come to Mexico and smuggle El Tequileño Blanco back in my suitcase, back to my bar in London, just so I could make the authentic batanga. And so I had a connection many years ago before I ever started working on this brand. So I don't know if you want to try this now,
right?
But it's the main thing is you've got to get agave. And agave is the flavor that you want to taste in tequila. So if you're tasting a huge amounts of other things and you don't taste agave, and agave is this naturally sweet and honey-like flavor that you can smell in the aroma and smell on the palate. You don't get that. There's something wrong, because this is a agave plant is something that's been in the ground for a minimum of 6 years to mature. And that's what you want to come out. You spend 6 years growing this, you want it to come out in your product. And so, when you smell this,
the nose on this is amazing. Like, it's very obviously tequila. There's so much more to it than just that bite that you usually get when you smell like a really cheap tequila.
Yeah. So if you try any spirit, not just cheap tequilas, if you try kind of any cheaper products, like high volume products, I would say that you get a lot of high alcohols, which are really kind of fresh and spicy and burn your nose to a degree. And this is very soft, fruity, has that natural sweetness to it, and a bit of herbaceousness.
Yes.
And that all comes from the plant. It all comes from the agave, and that's what we want to get through here. So you smell it, and then you got to try it, obviously. And you can see the body as well. The body's kind of medium to full bodied in the tequila, and that really from the piloncillo and agave together. And then you try it, and it fills your mouth. You get a lot of agave, a bit of vanilla. You get that herbaceousness and the spicy pepper, as well. But it's all in your mouth, and there's no burn, and that's the main thing. Is it's because it's a really balanced tequila. So
I got a little bit of lime. I taste just a tiny hint of lime in this tequila, and I didn't put any in there. But boy, the sweetness, the honey type of notes to it, just wow.
So one thing I never told you guys is that our distillery is in the town of Tequila, which is in the Tequila Valley. And there's kind of, in the region of Jalisco, there's two main tequila producing regions. One is the Tequila Valley, which surrounds the town of Tequila. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and every tourist comes to the town of Tequila. But also an hour and a half kind of southeast of Guadalajara is the Los Altos region. And the Los Altos region, some big brands made in that region. But the difference between the two is what you call in the wine industry the terroir. Mm-hmm. So if you grow Chardonnay in California and Chardonnay grapes in France, there's a very different flavor profile due to the soil and the microclimate. And it's actually the same in agave. So we could source our agave from around our distillery, like 20 minutes would take us to get to our distillery. But the thing is, we don't. We source it from the Los Altos region, which takes 4 to 5 hours to get our agave to our distillery. And the reason is flavor. So the agaves in the Tequila Valley, around about the town of Tequila, give you a more earthy and vegetal flavor, whereas in the Los Altos region are more naturally sweet, fruity, and floral. So when Don Jorge was researching to make his tequila, that's what he found was his optimum taste profile. So we source all of our agaves from the Los Altos region, but our distillery is in the Tequila Valley.
Wow.
So that's why you get this kind of fruity floralness, the herbaceousness, and that more naturally sweet flavor rather than earthy vegetal, which you see in a real,
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, usually if I drink some tequila, I'm wanting to chase her pretty quickly afterwards. And with this, I didn't even want one because just the flavors just kind of expanding as it heated up into my mouth. There just kept getting more and more flavors kept developing in my mouth. And there was never any of that burn. I will say, like 30 seconds later, I did take a drink of this, of a little Pilsner lager that I have here. And it was, so good. Like it paired
the spiciness.
it paired so wonderfully with the tequila. That it was just delicious. Jeff, you look like you really got something to add.
Yeah, I've just been sitting here like soaking this all in, and yeah, I'm almost feeling like I'm taking little bits of what everybody's saying here. When Steffin's talking about like, the nose of this, like it's approachable, like, here we are, like I'm drinking out of this whiskey glass, and we were having some whiskey a couple of weeks ago, and it was beautiful whiskey. But that first hit, I was like, ugh, like thrown back. And I was almost expecting that, putting my nose into this tequila, but it's there's that fruitiness. John was saying he was getting a little bit of lime. I was getting a little bit of like lime on the nose. But then also like almost a lot of like hops type aromas, like citrusy, piney, definitely like fruity on the nose. And yeah, like, it's weird because I don't even, I don't know. To me, like if I'm just talking to some random person, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a sipping tequila." I'm almost like, "Shut up, leave me alone."
Yeah.
But like, this is definitely a tequila where it's like you want to take your time with it. You do not get bonus points for flying through this thing. That spiciness is so good. I can see, Eccles seeing like, man, this pairs beautifully with that Pilsner there. And I am just thinking about like, wouldn't I love like some fresh seafood in front of me right now? Like just something like very like simple and straightforward. Like this is so tasty. And this is why I love
scallops and butter.
So going back to mix those. So going back to mixtos versus 100%, usually, the kind of over the past 10 years, and I've seen this traveling around the world, training people in tequila, the kind of phrase that's always been used is mixto bad, 100% agave good. and that is incorrect, because what the phrase should be is a really well-made mixto is better than a badly made 100% agave. And that is what you're seeing now. And the tequila industry has changed a lot over the past 6 or 7 years. They've industrialized a lot. They have more modern processes. And for me, as a tequila purist, personally, I feel that impacts flavor. As you become more modern technology, you can impact the flavor overall. And if you do things the right way, you get this great flavor from the plant itself, and that really dominates everything. And one thing, talking about the fruitiness of the tequila, I wish you could see where during the day, just to my left here, there's around 15 mango trees on our property that are like 150 years old. And we do open fermentation. So when we ferment, the fruit flies come across and into our where we produce our yeast. We have a natural yeast strain that we produce. And they enrich the yeast, and that also impacts the flavor of our tequila. And so that's what I'm saying. There's so many factors, from the agave plant itself, which takes 6 years to mature. Then the way you got to cook it, then you got to extract the juice, then you ferment it, open fermentation, and then we distill in copper. And copper in any spirit has a big impact on flavor. And actually, we age all of our products. So even this Blanco, we've rested it for 14 days in American oak. And that's not to add oak to it. It's just it softens the tequila, mellows the tequila out a little bit after distillation. And that's what, again, gives this roundness to it.
Awesome. We've got so much more to do, but we do have a bunch of questions from the people watching live.
Sure.
Amber wants to know, what part of London were you working in?
I was in East London, so I ran a bar that was owned by two of the spirits industry, the bar industry's most iconic consultants, which were Henry Besant and Dre Masso. So I ran their bar, which is called Green and Red, which was a Mexican tequila bar in East London at the top of Brick Lane. And it was a very famous bar in Europe. And just so happened to be called Green and Red, obviously the colours of the flag, but actually it was on the corner of Bethnal Green Road and Red Church Street.
Oh.
So it was a coincidence, but it was a fantastic bar that had one of the top selections of 100% agave tequilas in Europe, plus El Tecreño Blanco. That was like our one big stuff. And I only really remember 50% of the time there because I drank so much tequila the other 50% of the time. So I had some great memories.
Oh, that's awesome. Lori is watching. She has a wine company of her own. And so she was listening to you talk about the 4 or 5 hour transport time for the agave plant to the facility. And she was curious if there's a crunch in time between harvest and processing. Like with grapes, it's got to be from the time you harvest it to the time you're pressing them. It needs to be the shortest amount possible. Is there anything like that with tequila?
So it's not quite as urgent as grapes. But for example, so basically, humidors, who are the harvesters of agave, usually what will happen is they'll start at 6 a.m. They finish about 1 p.m. It's all done by hand, the harvest. And they finish at 1 because it gets too hot. They fill the trucks. The trucks come to tequila, to our distillery. And literally 1 hour ago, we got a delivery, a whole fresh delivery. And first thing in the morning, 6 a.m., they'll be chopped in half. The ovens will be loaded and they'll start cooking. So I have seen other distilleries. You can leave them for a couple of days, but if you leave them for a couple of days, they start to dry out and start to decompose. So you don't want it to happen. So you want to get them in the oven and cook them as quick as possible and retain all the juices.
Jess and Jimmy want to know if you're so you're not a gunner.
No, I'm afraid I'm not a gunner. Being from Scotland, I've got my Scottish soccer team, football team. It was in the UK. In England, I'm an Everton fan. Would you believe?
Oh, Everton! There you go.
Which is Liverpool, because they used to have they had a striker called Daniel Amakachi, and with my Nigerian roots, he was a Nigerian striker. So Everton are my team.
Yeah, I just have to ask, since I live in California and in my area, as far as like Mexican soccer, people are either into Chivas or America. Are you down with them, or do you have a different team in Mexico?
I'm Atlas.
Okay.
So in Guadalajara you have Chivas and you have Atlas. I'm Atlas.
Okay. All right.
Atlas are like the people's team in Guadalajara.
Chivas are more like the pretty boys.
Chivas are like the Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And finally, Ryan wants to know, how do you become a tequila purist?
You drink a lot of tequila. So yeah, I've been drinking tequila now for a while. Like, I think I got into tequila in Scotland and 20 years ago maybe. And the only reason I got into tequila, I'll tell you how I got into the tequila industry, is I was managing a bar and used to do stock takes every week, and we were very tight on stocks and making sure profitability, etc. And of course, bartenders like to drink. We all like to drink, especially in Scotland. And the choice was always rum. Everybody drank rum, so the stock every week was down in rum. So the owner was going crazy, and it was kind of like, if this rum stock's down again and I find somebody, they're fired. So I thought, well, I'm going to start drinking the tequila, because if the tequila's down, it's always put down as an overpour because nobody drinks tequila. and so then I started just realizing differences between tequila, and it just started a natural kind of interest, and from there took me into the tequila business, and here I am all these years later.
Awesome. Okay, so before we taste the next one, let's walk through the other ones you have here, and then before we get to the final one, we're gonna take a break for a couple little bits.
Sure. So, which one do you want to go next? Do you want to just go talk through the next one, or which one do you have in your hand?
The platinum.
The platinum.
Okay, so we've got a platinum, which is this is 100% agave blanco, and we rest this again for 14 days, and so when you compare it to the blanco that we just tried, or regular tequila, this one is just very elegant. It is a lot of agave. It's really beautiful, but I always just tell people it's just a very elegant tequila. The flavor just keeps going and going and going, and it's really delicious. And more than anything, I drink this in a margarita. For me, it just makes a great margarita. And I had a really close friend of mine. I was with him yesterday, and the past week, a guy called Julio Barmeco, and Julio is one of the most famous people in the tequila business, and he runs, which is there's no dispute, the #1 tequila bar on earth, and it's in San Francisco, California. And it's called Tommy's Mexican Restaurant, and he created a cocktail which is globally known as the Tommy's Margarita.
Yeah.
And so Julio and Julio, he loves El Tecleño Platinum, Tommy's Margaritas. So I've been with him the past few days. It's been down in Jalisco. We went back to San Francisco today, and I've been drinking a few of these with him. So you should try that. We have a reposado as well. A regular reposado, which I'll grab a bottle. Wait 1 second. This is actually the older label in Mexico compared to the one you have in the US right now. We spruced it up a little. So this is our 100% agave reposado, which is aged for 3 months in American oak. And one thing with our blancos and reposados, we age them in really large barrels called pipones, which range from 5,000 liters up to 30,000 liters. And the reason behind that is that if you age, which was very common in tequila business, is to age in ex-bourbon barrels. Because if you know anything about bourbon, they can only use their barrels once. So the Scotch industry and the tequila industry buy the barrels, and they're 200-liter barrels. But if you age in those barrels, you have a much larger oak to liquid ratio, whereas we age in these giant vertical pipones, we call them, and there's a much less oak to liquid ratio, so you get a much more softer aging process, which allows the agave to shine through. So that's why we do it. We want some oak influence, but not to overpower the agave. So this is a 3-month reposado, and this is much our kind of what I would say is my cocktail tequila. I drink this at home in a bunch of cocktails, and it's really delicious and very soft.
And with this one, you're actually starting to see a little bit of color.
Exactly. It's very light. It's very light. And another thing in terms of color, it's another little fact I'll throw in there is in the tequila business, it's legal to add 1% of additives. And when I say additives, that's caramel, oak, glycerine. So a lot of people taste tequila and go, oh, it's so smooth. And you get this sweetness on the front of your lip and the front of your tongue. And that's actually the glycerine. And it's completely illegal. It's completely fine. But what's not regulated is the concentration. So you can add 1% of additives, but the concentration is not regulated. So people add high concentrations at small percentages. And we don't add any additives to our tequila, nothing at all. And there's a really, for anybody that doesn't know a lot about tequila, there's a really great app called Tequila Matchmaker. And those guys, Scarlett and Grover, are tequila purists, shall I say? The enthusiasts. These are guys they've traveled all over Jalisco and Mexico, visiting tequila distilleries and mezcal, and they started this great app, and recently started this this additive-free program where they come and they take all your products and they test them, and they've been given regulations how to test from the CRT, the governing body of tequila, and then they certify you if you're additive-free. So we were one of the first brands to be certified additive-free, which Tony, our master distiller, is very strict about. No additives in his tequila.
That's amazing. It just continues to point to the facts that you're showing us about the commitment to quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that, and I've got to stress, it is legal for other people to add additives. It's not they're doing anything wrong. That's what they want to do in their brand. That's fine. We just know that if you do things the right way, the agave plant will do everything, and you get great flavor. And with a little bit of wood in these reposados, you can get some just fantastic results.
I'm just envisioning somebody at a different tequila house just boiling down oak chips until it's like a syrup. They're like, a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. So they add a lot of caramel for color correction. That's what usually caramel is used for. Oak is added for flavor, and glycerin is added for smoothness. So, and that's I try when I'm tasting, and I always but I try not to say smooth too much because ultimately, it's just the wrong word. Balanced is a good word, but smooth that's kind of artificial sweetness can confuse people into thinking that they're drinking a great product when they're not.
It makes a lot of us wonder. Like maybe that bottle of tequila I got when I won a dance contest on a booze cruise.
Wasn't that great? No, but you said
I don't even think it was allowed to be. I don't even think it was allowed to be called tequila. I think it was called an agave liqueur.
Okay, there you go.
All right, and then we've got the Reposado Gran Reserva. Yeah.
So the Reposado Gran Reserva is so this one is a really special product. It's one of my favorites actually. I love this one. This is an aged for 8 months in an American oak pipon, and actually we blend in around 15% of añejo, 1.5 year añejo. So we age it for 8 months in a large pipon, and then añejo is aged in a 200-liter barrel. Because for añejo and extra añejo, you've got to age it by law in a barrel of 600 liters or less. So añejo is minimum 1 year, extra añejo is minimum 3 years in barrels of 600 liters or less. So we add in about 15% of añejo, and that's just to add in an extra layer of richness and complexity. And when you try this, it's just so full. You got it in your glass. Fantastic.
I do. I went from the Blanco to this Grand Reserve, and I'm like,
I'm going to pour myself one.
All right.
It's like
there's a lot of kind of banana,
like golden raisins, almost like golden raisins.
Yeah, it's very round in your mouth. It's got a lot of flavor and banana and agave. And actually, there's an awards program called the Proof Awards in the US, and this just received a 100-point score. So it got the Century Award. So there are 40 judges rated this 100 points. So it's just got a really good result there.
It tastes like golden sunshine in your mouth.
Okay, you sold me. I was going out for the Reposado rare. But let me try this first.
Hold on. All right. While they're trying those, we're going to get into a little bit we like to call
wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference. So everybody watching, everybody listening, go around the panel, give these guys a term. They're going to try to guess what it is amongst one of those categories. This show's term is COA. Koa. I'm going to get it out of the way. It's spelled C-O-A.
C-O-A. Koa.
Umlauts, no tildes, no accents, no smoked whale testicles. All right, we'll start with you, Eccles. Koa, what do you think?
Koa. I'm not even going to dilly-dally like Sally from the Valley on this one tonight because I want to get back into these tequilas. I'm going to say that Koa is some kind of pop culture reference, and it has something to do with some kind of creepy, crawly, Slytherin Izarin down in Mexico.
Okay, so pop culture reference from Eccles. Solomon.
Wow. I was just thinking, Eccles drinks enough tequila, he'll be able to pronounce tequileño later. He got close. Koa. Wow. It's not an acronym. It doesn't stand for anything.
Nope, it is a word.
Capital C traditionally, or does it matter where it is?
It depends on where it is in a sentence.
Koa. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna say that Koa is yeah, it's I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but John Ruyak is the founder, president, emperor of the Southwestern United States Herpetological Society and Exam Clinic. Koa is what is short for like when you're out in the field and you come across a cobra, you don't have time. The B slows you down, and the R especially. So Koa is like you just came across a cobra and you go, Koa, over here.
Right. Wow, you're really stretching that out, Solomon. Okay, so this is some sort of pop culture reference as well. Steffin, why don't you tell us what Koa is?
Okay, so Koa is a spirit term, and it is a tool used in the harvesting of the agave plant.
It's a big stick with a razor sharp plate at the end of it.
Yeah, so if anybody's ever seen the harvesting of agave, it looks very easy. Let me tell you, it is so hard. Like, these guys are like super skinny, they're super strong, and they can harvest a lot of agaves in one day. So there's no machines that harvest agaves. The Koa is the machine.
We have a winner, Steffin. Tell us about his prize, Jeff.
He wins absolutely nothing.
All right. Spend it all in one place.
Brad in the chat said that he was feeling a spirit term tonight before you even said anything. JVB says it stands for cost of living adjustment. I don't think he quite heard what you said. Lori says that it was a type of boa. There was a lot of snake references there. And John Ruyak, the term one last time is
Koa.
You know how much we like that little bit, folks. So we had to get to it. So, Steffin.
Also, and I sorry, I just have to get in there because I was playing it back. I know what a Koa is. The nice thing about a Koa too is it doubles as a chupacabra defense system.
Okay, so Steffin, let's get to the last one on the list. The world's one and only. What is this one here?
So this is the Reposado Rare. So what's unique about this is, I think I said like a few minutes ago, that in the tequila business, for añejo, you have to age it for a minimum of 1 year, and extra añejo, you have to age it for a minimum of 3 years in barrels of 600 liters or less. So the majority of the industry use 200-liter ex-bourbon barrels, or usually a 200-liter barrel. This has been aged for 6 years and 4 months in a 23,000 liter pipon. And so, although it's aged twice the length of an extra añejo, we cannot call it extra añejo. We have to call it reposado. So we called it a reposado rare. And there was only 20,000 bottles of this made because it was in a 23,000 liter barrel with angel share. So we got 20,000 bottles. And I have to be honest, we sold 50% in the last 6 months in the US. People have just gone crazy for this product. It's taken us a bit by surprise, but it won a double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, and it's just been getting great results. I mean, because when you start aging tequila for that length of time, you know, if you think of whiskey like a 15-year-old, a 21-year-old, they gain a lot of the barrel notes on it, and in tequila, when you start getting up to kind of 4 or 5 years old, it's called tropical aging. So you get that effect of like the 20, 25-year-old aging in Scotland, but in a warmer climate. And so oak can really start to overtake the product. And what's amazing about this is it's very light. You get oak influence, but the agave is still full. You get the fruitiness, the green apple, and it's just a very complex tequila and very delicious. And so we've got a lot of good feedback on it so far.
It is very complex on the nose. I would hate to try to blind taste something like this because there is this, well, there's some whiskey here, and then there's this, but there's tequila here, and then but there's this fruit here that I don't know what's going on with. So it's got a really unique nose to it. I don't know if you guys are getting the same thing.
Yeah, I always get green apple. Like I always think of like when I smell, I get the green apple, but exactly that. You get a bit of this kind of oaky whiskey-ness to it, but I get the vanilla and the sweet agave as well. And then when you try it, all the aromas are also in the flavor. So.
There's a little bit of smoke in there too. This is a wild nose.
And just on the palate, like this is it's chewy. It's like just these beautiful, like sweet oak notes that are not overpowering. They're just there and they're like playing with the tequila. This is, I know it's the word we hate. It's you give it to the person who says they like stuff that's really smooth. But it's something that you just want to play with. Like it's so much more than that. There's just these beautiful spices, and it's sweet and Eccles, like just what you were saying, like it'd be interesting trying to like go blind at this. I might think it's like a high rye bourbon. But there's something else going on, and maybe we leave it up to the tropical aging. I'd imagine there's a lot more of like cycling of the booze in and out of those oak staves. But yeah, this is so tasty and it's so beautiful.
So this product started off. So this product wasn't a planned product either. It started off as our Gran Reserva Reposado. That's what the tequila was being aged in a pipon for the Reposado portion of the Gran Reserva Reposado. And Tony, our master distiller, his father, who's also Antonio Saez, he's one of only 5 Gran Tequileros in the industry, which is a very prestigious award. He wanted to leave it for a little bit longer. And supposedly after a year and a half, they asked him, what should we do? And he said, I want to leave it a little bit longer. And another 6 months went by, and they said, what should we do? And he went, I want to leave it for a little bit longer. And then they asked him a third time when it got to something like 2.5 years. And he tore their heads off and went, why the hell do you keep asking about this? I'll tell you when it's ready. And 6 years and 4 months went by. And we tried it. We tried it about a year and a half ago, I think it was. And we just went, wow, this is delicious. We've got to let people try this. And so that's when we put it in a bottle.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, there's almost like this dark rum kind of component that's in there too. I think that might be the sweetness that's there, but
It's almost the baking spices. It's almost like if you took the top of the apple brown Betty off of like baked green apples and just were smelling the apples and the spices, but not the sugar on top. That's the kind of taste I get out of it. But then there's this other layer of baking spice that's not really integrated with the apples. It's kind of this separate thing. And there's like these pockets of flavor that just kind of hit you at different spots when you're tasting it. It's just nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity to it, and the main thing is you still get that agave coming through, and that's what's just so unique. And even for me, trying hundreds and hundreds of tequilas, I was kind of blown away by this. I was like, wow, this is 6 years in the barrel, and I get all this natural agave flavor coming through, as well as all the oak influences. It's all kind of there. It's like a Tetris. It comes together. You know?
And so this one's not. This is not like something you're always producing, right? This is like a
no. This is a limited edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've only got 10,000 bottles left. And so it's flying out the door, which is great. We love it that people love our tequila. But just in truth, we're like, wow, this is taking off. And we also have one other tequila we never mentioned, which is our Añejo Gran Reserva, and that's another product we just launched, and it's just won a couple of big awards, and that's another limited edition, but not by choice. we went to do our blend. And we opened up our barrels and found 25% of the liquid left in the barrels. Oh, and we're like, when you sit and do projections, and from the sales side, you're like, okay, we're gonna make this amount, and we'll send it here, and then we're like, oh my god, like 25% of the liquid. And so we made the blend, and it's a very special blend. It's 2-year-old añejo and American and French oak, and we blend that with a 6-year-old extra añejo. So there's only 10,000 bottles of that as well. So we've got 2 limited edition products that are really delicious. But the Reposado Rare is just extra special, and then Añejo's just launching in the market.
Amazing!
Wow.
Yeah.
So guys, we've run through the tasting, and thank you so much for sending these out to us and letting us taste these along with you. These were fantastic. This was
crazy delicious.
Really opened my eyes to what tequila can be. So I really appreciate that. And I hope our listeners will, if they see it, will grab a bottle. If they want to order it online, is there any way for them to do that you know of?
Sure. Yeah. So there's a number of ways online. Reserve Bar is a great source. If you're in Florida, Sip Tequila, they are really fantastic. Drizzly as well is another e-commerce site, or and the 15 states we're in as well, Total Wines and more. California as well, you got Mission Wines and Spirits, and so which are great. And so there's a bunch of places you can find us, and please try us. It's
and you said you're in 15 states in the U.S.
Yeah, 15 states right now. We're expanding slowly. The
laws here suck. We're not going to.
No, we could open up tomorrow in the whole US, but you got to do things the right way.
And, okay.
You got to make sure your brand's in the right place, and people get to taste your brand because there's a lot of brands out there. So we want to do it the right way and grow as we can support markets and get out to everybody that enjoys drinking tequila. So we're a small company, so there's only a few of us.
So, if in general, like what part of the state, United States are you in?
So, kind of all over, but the main ones you got Washington State, California, Arizona, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Illinois. Where else? Missouri. Like we're a good bunch. Tennessee. Right.
Excellent.
Now, so.
Okay.
I feel like if it's not in your state that you're in right now, everybody just go one state over and you'll get it.
I'm Colorado. We're in Colorado.
Okay, perfect. Then all's good. We're good.
Yeah.
All right.
We covered all the main drinking states. So.
All right. So guys, what other questions do you have for Steffin while we got him here?
Okay.
Here we go. Here.
Steffin, I imagine you have a whole lot of fun having a very similar conversation with people time and time again as you're tasting them through your tequila, right? And everybody's got their own variation of this story because everybody at least has somebody else in their life who's had tequila. So if it wasn't you, it was probably one of your friends. But when somebody tells you that they are allergic to tequila because of this one night that stuff went wild, I guess what I'm asking is, how much fun do you have showing them that they're full of shit, that they drank too much alcohol one night and that was the problem, but then also like showing them like how delicious and delicate and beautiful tequila can be? How fun is that?
I come across get people visiting in the distillery here, say from our members are Americans that come, and it's kind of surprising to find people in tequila saying I'm allergic to tequila, but it's obviously they're curious. But it's really great actually when you educate people. A lot of people allergic to tequila, you'll find drink margaritas, and then they kind of forget that that's made of tequila. So they'll happily drink a margarita. They just don't want to have a shot. And when you quickly educate them on the differences between good quality tequila and kind of low quality tequila, and also if you mix it with a ton of sugary stuff, if you drink tequila pure, I drink a lot of, not too much, guys, but I drink enough of straight tequila. I don't get hangovers. I'm always happy. I'm always happy. They say the tequila business, you can't promote it as a thing, but they say is that the sugars in other spirits, and when you mix them like vodka and Coke, the sugars are glucose, so your blood sugar shoots up and then you crash. And then tequila is fructose, and your body processes it. So that's kind of that phrase, tequila makes you happy because you're always in a high. And if you drink responsibly, you wake up the next day with feeling good. You don't have a hangover. And that's why I drink mainly pure tequila or something like a Tommy's Margarita. But it's great educating people and showing them that the good side of tequila and how it can be enjoyed, for sure.
There you go, John.
Nice.
Well, that kind of leads me to, or kind of answers a question that I had about the fructose, because there was a story a long time ago, a couple of years ago, that tequila was kind of okay for diabetics because the sugars and the alcohol in it were somewhat different than they were to other distilled spirits. Is that so? That kind of holds true.
Yeah. So yes and no. So what I was is for sure that I've not seen any medical proof on that. I've heard that from a number of people who are diabetics that they prefer drinking tequila over other things because it suits them. And actually, in the insulin production industry, they make a lot of insulin from blue agaves are planted every year, and a small portion of them are used in the insulin industry. So it shows you the sugars from there are obviously preferable sugars, and so it's preferable for diabetics. But again, I would say drink with moderation. Don't benefit. I don't know, Scottish moderation might be a little bit different from what's
All right, guys. Any other questions for Steffin before we move on? Yeah,
I've had a gazillion of them about making tequila, but
I know.
I've got okay.
you guys are gonna have to come down.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need to. I started booking my trip the moment you start talking about the tequila bar down the street. Like, this sounds awesome. So I've got a quick question, and then I'm going to tell you how to run your business. Okay. So the quick question is, anytime I've ever visited Mexico, I noticed that, like, regionally, people will gravitate towards specific beers in certain areas. And I wanted to make sure, as I'm booking my trip to tequila, if I were like to pose as like an OG tequileño, like I knew what I was talking about, what beer would I order with my tequila when I'm at the bar?
Oh my, that's a good question. So, here in Guadalajara, the kind of there's the craft beer scene is growing a lot in Guadalajara actually right now, and there's a bunch of little craft breweries that are really good, like from Colima and actually one just along the road from Tequila, actually, and you'll see the craft beer scene. So there's like 100 different craft beers, but if you want the standard kind of mainstream beer, you see a lot of Pacifico being drank, and that's from Sinaloa, and there's a lot of Pacifico being drank, and Modelo. So they're the one. If you go to traditional cantinas, it's Pacifico and Modelo. They're like the two big ones that are drank in Guadalajara. And
so don't be a square and go ask for don't go ask him for Corona if you roll into that place.
Honestly, you see Corona, but I don't really see Corona being sold anywhere in Guadalajara, which is it's still a huge beer, Mexico, but it's all Pacifico. It's always cans as well. Cans.
Okay, and then the other thing. All right. Have we decided that the next limited release?
No.
It's gonna be 7 years. 7 years.
Look,
and it's gonna be called the Reposado Hella Rare.
This is the part where Solomon tells you how to operate, how to run your business.
Tell me what's next. Yeah, so I'll tell you a little insight. Is a little secret information. Is one of our big supporters and friends of our company is Randy Ollum, and Randy Ollum is the master winemaker for Kendall Jackson wines. And he makes like 30 million bottles of Kendall Jackson Chardonnay a year. He's a real expert in the winemaking business. And Tony and his father, Antonio, collaborated with Randy because Randy has expertise in wood aging. So he uses thousands of barrels a year for wine. So when we started to realize we were growing, we were worried that we could change something. We didn't want to change anything. So they called on Randy to come and just give some advice with their tequila making skills and his wood aging skills. What do we need to do to increase our barrel capacity? And that was around 2 years ago. And when we tried to blend our Añejo Gran Reserva, it was a year, like 13 months ago, whatever, we did a big blending session in tequila. And there was the three of them, and they were going to present to us, and there was like 30 other people from the industry, and that they were going to present their tequila to. Next thing, we've got 7 tequilas. So for me, as business development, in my head, I'm going, what the heck is happening here? I only want 1 tequila. Now I've got 7 on my plate, and all 7 were delicious. And one of them was the Añejo Gran Reserva, and we had single barrels, and we had kind of a limited this and another blend here, and so we've got a lot of stuff up our sleeve. But the reality is we're a small company. We've got great brands here. We're going to push them, and other things will come. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket at once.
I think I'm just shut up and sit down right now. I think you just told you to shut up and sit down, Jeff Solomon. Is what that was.
Yeah.
Come on, you have one more question.
No, I mean, look, I'm just chomping at the bit to go to Jalisco, look for rattlesnakes during the day, and then be drinking tequila at night.
At night, for sure. You should come down. Obviously there's a big pandemic, but you'd be surprised at how many people visited us in the last 6 months. We're very strict here in our hotel and on all the COVID procedures, in terms of who comes in and how we deal with everything. So people feel safe when they're here, and that's what we want to make sure, that if people are visiting, they feel safe, so they enjoy themselves.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that. There's so much that we didn't get a chance on, and we're already over an hour. So, Steffin, I really think we're just going to have you come back on the show sometime.
No problem. Anytime.
And we'll need more tequila.
Of course. We can try the añejo, etc. next time. Yeah.
So now we do have another question from one of our listeners. Steffin, you may be able to chime in on this one and help us out. So Julie says, hello, I was wondering if you had any suggestions on a good brandy I can get my boyfriend for our anniversary. I'm trying to stick around $75 to $100 range. Thanks so much. Love the show. Thank you so much for reaching out. Julie, I'm waiting for the time delay to get to our chat, because I know our chat is going to light up. But guys, any thoughts on this, on a special brandy? John, you look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I was, a year ago, I went up to a conference in Longmont and stayed at a buddy's house in Denver, and he shared with me some Ararat 20-year-old brandy. Goes for, I think, depending on where you get, anywhere from $70 to $85 a bottle. They've got a couple of different iterations. They've got a 10-year. They've got something called Churchill. But I shared with my friend shared with me this 20-year Ararat brandy, and it was pretty delicious. That's really the only experience I've had with brandy. I had some a long time ago, but I couldn't tell you what it was.
So I can give a little background. I can tell you what not to do. In college, I remember we went down to the corner store. We got ourselves some E&J, also referred to affectionately in the dorms. We called it Irk and Jerk, because the next morning you were irking and jerking. Just so I would suggest, if you wanted just a really good mix-in brandy just for cocktails that you didn't have to spend a whole lot on, how about that Frisco brandy out of San Francisco? But yeah, I'm not a huge brandy guy, but I would suggest kind of poking around in the cognac family of brandies if you're looking to get something fancy. And certainly you could spend a whole lot more than $100 if you wanted to, but I'd imagine you're going to find some nice stuff in that range.
Yeah.
Don't get the E&J though at the corner store.
Steffin, do you know much about brandy? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't drink a lot of brandy, but it's focusing on cognac. It's not officially a cognac, but Martell Blue Swift. It's maybe not $75 to $100, but what Martell did with Blue Swift, I found really delicious with the bourbon influence, and it's kind of I would say it's a user friendly. It's really delicious, rounded, a lot of flavor, a cool bottle, and not crazy expensive.
Yeah, I think that Martell Blue Swift, I think that is right around $75, $80. So I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say the same thing as these guys. Look more. I would say look more towards the cognac and look towards some of the names that you probably already know. Hennessy, Remy Martin, Hein. All those things. You're probably gonna want to look more at the VSOPs as opposed to the XOs, because really the XOs are going to be out of that price range. But I think any of the well-known VSOPs, cognacs are gonna hit the wheelhouse here. Jeff Solomon has more to add.
I've got one more because I don't know if everybody knows this. I used to work at a record store. And I'm finding myself going back in time in my mind to the early 2000s. I believe it was a collaboration between Busta Rhymes and Sean P. Diddy Combs. The song was called Pass the Courvoisier. You may as well, you get a ball of Courvoisier, and then also you get the CD single of Pass the Courvoisier, and you just have a good old time.
There you go. And JVB, we were hoping JVB would chime in. He says the Remy Martin 1738 or Herat 20 year or Chateau de Montefaud VSOP Montifaud. All good options. So we probably didn't give you a specific answer like you were hoping for, Julie, but hopefully we got you in the ballpark of what you are looking for. And happy anniversary to you guys. Steffin, back to you. Is there anything, I mean, there's a ton we missed, but is there anything that you really want to make sure our listeners know before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a small craft brand making its debut in the US, and if you guys like tequila and like craft tequila that focuses on quality, then you should try this brand because it will blow you away in terms of the flavors and the dedication to quality from Tony, our master distiller, and more than anything, if you ever get the chance to come down to tequila, come and stay in our hotel, Casa Sayas, and you'll get the whole experience. And when you meet Tony, he's just such a humble person that he's grown up in the tequila world. And so I think when passion transfers to the product, and that's what you taste, and every single drop of this tequila is passion. And that's why after knowing this brand 14 years ago, and I've worked with other tequila brands, I worked with Absolute Vodka in the US for the past 6 years, and I came back into tequila, and I came because it was the passion that really drew me, and you'll taste that in this tequila.
Amazing. Yeah. And I'll be honest, generally when we have somebody on the show, we really like to talk about them. The product is kind of secondary to us getting to know the person. And tonight, like, you brought so much passion for this product that really that's really where our focus went, and our viewers loved it, and they're all salivating, and we loved it, and so just thank you for joining us. It was a lot.
Thank you. You don't want to talk about me. I'm just a crazy Scottish guy that loves tequila.
And there's a whole thing that we could have got into there. But unfortunately, when you've had, I'm on my fourth tequila, somebody's going to call. Last call. Time to clean house and lock the doors, folks. You know what we do here, folks. We're looking for a little bit of help from you. John Riak, if the folks want to follow us on the social media platforms, how can they do so?
Oh, the big one. Well, the big three, right? We're on Twitter, and that's We Like Drinking 1, the numeral 1. Instagram, We Like Drinking, and everybody's favorite place to hang out, particularly on the weekends, that's the Tavern on Facebook. WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern. Ask to be invited, and we'll say yes.
That's right. Steffin, are you involved in the social media platforms or anything? Where are the best places to find you guys on the social media?
Sure. Facebook, Tequileno 1959, and on Instagram, L_Tequileno. And you'll find us there.
Jeff Solomon, if the folks have some thoughts on the show, if they have some horrible tequila stories, if they have some fantastic tequila stories, where can they go to let us know about them?
Yeah, tell us your tequila stories. Also, give us some advice on a good $75 to $100 brandy by taking a look at your phone to the podcast app that you're listening to us on right now. Leave a 5-star review and let us know. And by the way, those of you watching live, as you ought to do every Tuesday night around 7:30-ish Pacific at welikedrinking.com/show or on YouTube, please make sure to mash the like and subscribe buttons. Ding that bell so we're all up in your area 24/7. Yay.
And if you've done all that and you're looking to do a little bit more, consider becoming a patron of the show by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge, where you can find out for as little as $1 a month how you can help support our show. As JVB was saying, it's time to gas up the plane and get the We Like Drinking Tequila trip going. And every dollar helps when you're really trying to get your private jet down to Jalisco. So help us out. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/episodes. All right, folks. I don't know. I think I'm going to have one last drink here. Steffin, which one should I pour to end the night?
Have the Gran Reserva Reposado.
The Grand Reserve.
Yeah, that's exactly what I went to.
All right. As I'm pouring that, it looks like it's a time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
You know, I usually have some sort of non sequitur type of wisdom or weird thing to say at the end of these shows. I'm glad I get to go first, and we've been talking about it all show. I like tequila. I like it better than scotch. We've gotten some really nice whiskeys, some ryes, some bourbons. These tequilas were the most three-dimensional experiences we've had on the show from a spirit standpoint so far. Just absolutely just really nice, and it more than expected. Just wow, just boom, just great. Just thank you for the samples so much, Steffin. This was really cool.
Thank you.
As you can hear, John's mind was literally blown by Jeff Solomon.
No, and I'll just echo that. Like El Tequileño. Like this is the good shit. This is the real deal. This isn't the stuff that comes in the super expensive glass bottle that was designed by a hairdresser. This is the real shit. I brought my spittoon just in case, and I did not use this tonight. This was legit. I'm Steffin, thank you so much for sharing this with us and taking this on this awesome journey. I love this.
Over to me.
Steffin, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, you guys and everybody that tries our tequila, it just makes my job fantastic. I've got the best job in the world. I get to try this tequila all the time. I get to be here in Mexico a lot and spending time and seeing the way this is produced and spending time with Tony and his family making this tequila. But more than anything, I get to drink it and I get to share it with you guys. So when I get results like you guys tonight and you've enjoyed this product, it makes me very happy. So salud, as we say.
Salud.
Here.
And Steffin, I'll say this. This is episode 313. When you get to this last call segment, John and Jeff usually go off the rails. I don't think, honestly, in 313 episodes, I think this is the first time either of them have thanked the guest for coming on the show during this segment. They're usually just like, pew, pew, like off into the
ricocheting bullets.
So that says a lot.
Rattlesnakes.
Yes. So that says a lot. And I really want to expound on what they say and say, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. you are a world traveler. And I think that says a lot, that as a world traveler that's drank all the booze that's out there, that you decided to end up in Jalisco, Mexico, to work with this brand of tequila. And it shows in what you present, and what your company does shows in this product that we're tasting. And I highly encourage our listeners that if you can find a bottle of this, treat yourself to picking up any bottle that you see. So, Steffin, thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast,
Where you'll never drink alone. I went with the right hook tonight.
Yeah. You came from South Side there. Solid.
Yeah.
All right, viewers, thank you all so much. I cannot believe the showing that we had in the chat tonight. You guys are awesome. Jimmy, totally. We're talking about it tomorrow. We're planning the trip. This is happening. Everybody else, Dan is saying that looking forward to part 2 with Steffin. Great show tonight. Everybody is really just going on and on about you, Steffin, about what a great show this was tonight. So
thank you, guys.
Thank you, viewers. We're going to sign off. Next week, we have no guest. We have no plans. So the rails will be kicked out of
I know what I'm planning.
We could do one on a Saturday and during the day, and I'll take you through I'll do a virtual tour of the distillery and show you all guys at the distillery.
Oh, there you go. All right, YouTubers, talk to you next week.
Bye, YouTube. Bye, Jeff McKinney.